my name's Carly McKay, and I'm going to be reading an excerpt from Into the Wild by Mr. John, and it's about this guy who decided to take on the wilderness in Alaska by himself, and he passed away in the bus he was living in because he ate a plant that was poisonous. The problem, says Professor Bryant, is that you're lean and hungry to begin with. You're obviously not going to have any glucose or protein to spare, so there's no way to flush the toxin from your system. When a starving mammal ingests an alkaloid, even one as benign as caffeine, it's going to get hit much harder by it than it normally would because they lack the glucose reserves necessary to excrete the stuff. The alkaloid is simply going to accumulate in the system. If McCandles ate a big slug of these seeds while he was already in the semi-starving condition, it would have been a setup for catastrophe. Laid low by the moldy seeds, McCandles discovered that he was suddenly far too weak to hike out and save himself. He was now too weak to even hunt effectively, and thus grew weaker still, sliding closer and closer towards starvation. His life was spiraling towards the brink of it with awful speed. There are no journal entries for July 31st or August 1st. On August 2nd, the diary says only, terrible wind. Autumn was just around the corner, the temperature was dropping, and the days were becoming noticeably shorter. Each rotation of the earth held 7 fewer minutes of daylight and 7 more of cold and darkness. In the span of a single week, the night grew nearly an hour longer. Day 100! Made it! He noted jubilantly on August 5th, proud of achieving a significant milestone. But in weakest condition of life, death looms as serious threat. Too weak to walk out, have literally become trapped in the wild. No game. If McCandles had possessed a U.S. Geological Survey topographic map, it would have alerted him to the existence of a Park Service cabin on the upper Shoshone River, 6 miles due south of the bus, a distance he might have been able to cover even in his severely weakened state. I lost my spot. The cabin, just inside the boundary of Denali National Park, had been stocked with a small amount of emergency food, bedding, and first aid supplies for the use of backcountry rangers on their winter patrols. And although they aren't marked on the map, 2 miles even closer to the bus are a pair of private cabins, one owned by the well-known Healy dog mushers, Will and Linda Forsberg, the other by an employee of Denali National Park, Steve Carwile, where there should have been some food as well. McCandles' apparent starvation, in other words, seemed to be only a 3-hour walk upriver. This sad irony was widely noted in the aftermath of his death. But even if he had known about these cabins, they wouldn't have delivered McCandles from harm. At some point after mid-April, when the last of the cabins was vacated at the spring thaw made dog mushing and snow machine travel problematic, somebody broke into all 3 cabins and vandalized them extensively. The food inside was exposed to animals, and the weather ruining it.